Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning back in. This is going to be a bit different of an interview. So far, we've been doing stories, but I think it's really important to start bringing on other professionals in some of these like peripheral type areas that can really help with our recovery, really help move us forward on our healing journeys. And today I have Alisha Mattheis. Am I saying that right?
Mattheis. Yep.
Mattheis. Oh my gosh. I've known you for how many years? You would think I would get that right. Alisha is a licensed massage therapist, and she happens to be my massage therapist. And she is like one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world. She's also a certified essential oil specialist. And today we're going to get to hear her story, like how she got to where she is and why she thinks it's important that maybe we consider adding some of these things into our daily practice. So Alisha, if you would you mind sharing like kind of your personal professional journey, how you got to where you are today, and and why we should hear you out on doTERRA?
Yeah, no, thank you, Molly, for having me. Thank you for asking me to interview with you. I have known Molly for, oh my gosh, I think 18 years or close to it, if you can even believe it. My son is 10, and she was one of my first clients when I moved back to Montana. So it's just one of those things that I actually knew her before all of her recovery process as well, and which has been such a fun journey to see. And I also had my own struggles at that time. I had even before I had my son 10 years ago, I realized I was addicted to sugar. It was something that I struggled with. In a lot of people who listen know Molly's story and journey, and I can relate so much to that, and so many people can. And sometimes we just don't even know that we have a struggle until it's pointed out, right? And so different addictions run in my family, and I just knew at that point, specifically alcohol addiction, and I didn't want that for me. And so I had made the choice in my life to really work on doing the things that would help me with that. But then I didn't realize that through that process, I had turned to sugar. And so specifically ice cream, if people can relate, I totally get you, because it was my drug of choice. And so when I realized what I was doing to myself, I said, I don't even want to be doing this. Like, this is something I even just have to break. But I had to see it in order for it to come to light, right? And so it was something I had started through the process back in 2012. My son had tummy issues, and being a massage therapist, I had tried everything. I had tried as a new mom, right? I had tried Calm and grape water and all of the things there was to try back in the day. But somebody said, try Roman chamomile from doTERRA. And I had used some other essential oils in my professional career over the years. And I'm like, okay, they're just aromatherapy, right? Like, that's what I thought. And I'm like, well, why is this going to help with tummy issues? And so because of the purity, I took one drop and decided to try it, and I rubbed it on his belly and kind of kept my hand there. And then when I actually, before I even lifted my hand off, his legs used to be all crunched up, and then they were just relaxed. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. And actually, I'm a skeptic until proven wrong. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try this over the next couple of years or a couple of weeks and just see. He was a completely different baby. He really he went from being tense to just being calm. And it was something that I was like, okay, there's something more to this, and I needed to learn more about it. So I have dove in over the last decade and been able to teach people how to use essential oils therapeutically because of their chemical constituents, not just because of the aromatherapy part of it. So that is kind of my background in that. And then when I started to realize that, I had a sugar addiction, I was like, okay, what can I do to help my, metabolic state and that sort of thing? And that's really where I dove into learning about At the time it was Slim and Sassy. They revamped it and now it's Meta Power, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But what the key ingredient or the key oil in it, that there's a couple, but really grapefruit is something that is super powerful. And it's because it has an indirect effect with fat cells, and it's because of when we're stressed, right? We increase our cortisol, which then which as we know, has a direct correlation. And so grapefruit actually helps with the cortisol from being blocked by progesterone in the process. And that's why it actually really does help and work on our bodies. And so it's just one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm willing to give it a try. And it worked in ways. What it did for me is I was able to release some weight and focus on my mental capacities. And what I used for that was doTERRA came out with the adaptive system, which really works on our stress levels. It works on calming. It works on anxiousness and recovery. And because of what's in it and how it works with our brain. And that's why, so one of the things that doTERRA does is a lot of studies. And so during the study, they learned that lavender really helped people go through certain tasks that were difficult. And then while lavender, magnolia, neroli, and sweet gum together provided stress relieving effects, while wild orange and spearmint actually worked on energizing and uplifting. And so when they created the blend, they saw, and it also has copaiba and rosemary, which soothed anxious feelings. So then they combined those oils into a blend called the adaptive oil. And so they, as they did studies, and I have all the links. If somebody's interested, please reach out because I can get those to you. But and the second part of the system is the adaptive capsules, which is super powerful because it has GABA in them, which if you know anything about GABA, we know that there's a lot of synthetic medications that have GABA in them for certain reasons. Okay, and then GABA has, just something on GABA for those who don't know, it has a natural comforting effect. It helps us reduce feelings of apprehension and fear by decreasing neuronal excitability, okay, sometimes called the brakes of the brain, because it lowers the activity of the neural cells in the brain and the central nervous system. It has effects of moving the brain and the body into a lower gear by inhibiting neural activity. So GABA reduces mental and physical strain. So that's why GABA really works. And those adaptive capsules work wonders for people who deal with those sorts of things. So sometimes we know that, we have different, things that trigger us, or different things that we're like, okay, I could use extra support in this area. And what's amazing is to be able to find something natural to do so and not like go back to repetitive behaviors. I just have felt that that's been so powerful in my recovery journey. And like, I can't imagine my life now without them, just because when you smell something, so like, let's just say for calming, right? We have our olfactory glands, right, in our nose here, and it's connected to our brain. It's right next to it. And it's like, it's so powerful. Smell and scent is such a big part of, that. And so a lot of times, like, we live in Montana and it's snowing outside, and in the winter, I have a lot of struggle, so much that this is the time that I used to really struggle with like overeating or turning to sugar or that sort of thing. So a lot of times I am really focused on putting uplifting oils in my diffuser so that like helps me with excitability and that sort of thing, versus the opposite effect of that is to just be sluggish and all of those those and then during those times are when you want to start to overeat and that sort of thing. But because I've recognized that those are my triggers, I've done something about it so that I can help myself move past it. And I feel like that has been really, really powerful in over the last 10 years. So one of the things that you and I talked about, Molly, is doTERRA really hit the nail on the head, in my opinion. It's in the very new stages. And so what I've added to my the last 2 months of, or almost 3 months of my life, is they came out with a new blend. Previously I talked about Slim and Sassy. When they went back to the science behind it, and when it was, being created, it's now called MetaPower. And they took that blend and they said, okay, this actually did slow down fat cells. And there's a study, I have pictures, that they put the oil on adipose fat tissue, and it slowed the cell growth, new cell growth process of fat cells. But it didn't stop it. And they were like, okay, I wonder if there's a formula that could actually help the fat cells to stop or almost stop growing. And so they played around with the scientific, calculations of each of the oils. And then when they tested it, they said, oh my gosh, we actually have a more powerful formula. And so they created a whole system on it. And I was just going to explain a little bit what the foundation of the MetaPower product line is, or what MetaPower even means. And it just means has multiple levels. Actually, meta is the beginning word of metabolic, which anything with metabolic health, right? When we think of metabolic health, do you realize it's not just fat loss, right? And I say fat loss because weight loss has a stigma to it. And it's like, okay, there's a couple different things here that, that happens. But, and so then power is, they actually do PWR, and it means personal wellness realized. And so when we know how powerful, when we support our metabolism as a whole, we can do so much more with, our brain function and our, all of the things, right? Which I'll explain here in just a second. But all of our stuff is in preclinical research, which, yes, it's not published yet, but listening to all of the trainings and stuff, we're down that path. We're actually, we're able to partner with different doctors and that sort of thing because of our testing. And so I'm very confident after the 10 years that I've been doing this with, as a leader with doTERRA. It's just one of those things that I can't stress enough how amazing I feel after being on it 3 months. I've been able to release 16 pounds that, have snuck back on over the years due to some personal things. But really, it's just been so awesome to see. So it has grapefruit, lemon, peppermint, ginger, and cinnamon bark essential oil in them. And there's different things about each of the oils, right? So grapefruit has high levels of chemical constituent called limonene in it, which supports healthy metabolism when ingested. Lemon also has high limonene in it. Peppermint helps to improve exercise performance when ingested. It also is amazing. It's an aid as a natural appetite suppressant. It's just so powerful. But when I talked about the aptogenetics of it, which means it really works on those fat cells, it's pretty incredible to see how they can grow and shrink, and realize, okay, as we get older, those fat cells, what happens is the casing around the fat cell actually, the best way to describe it is it almost loses oxygen, and it traps the fat inside of it. And when people say, I have a hard time losing weight as I get older, there's scientific reason for that. It's because the casing around each of our fat cells actually starts to shrivel up, and it starts to trap the fat that's inside of it. If we can regenerate, or if we can add oxygen to the casing around each of the fat cells, which this does, it actually helps to release the trapped fat that's inside of it, which is amazing. Like, I know as a massage therapist, I have so many clients who say, as I get older, I just have a hard time losing weight. Guess what? When you go to the doctor, they say, okay, just try to exercise more. Just try to eat less carbs. Just try to work on your eating, right? But if you do all those things and you still don't have the right tools, it's still really hard. And so it's one of those things that when people don't understand it, they get discouraged, and it's like, okay, how else can we help our body, right? So there is more clinical research to be done, and they're actually doing it right now. I just heard that we're going to be able to get an update on this probably by March. And so I'm super excited. They are going above and beyond with the science part of this, because that's what people want to see. They want to see it actually working at a cellular level, right? And so we're going to be able to share all of that information as well. So taking MetaPower internally really helps me to curb the hunger cravings, reduce adipose fat cells, and support healthy metabolic function. And so it comes in all different ways, but I won't go into that. But really, the oil in your water, you drink it, or there's soft gels. So that's kind of how that is set up, to use. And then the second part of this system is the assist. And so one of the things that it does, it says crush the carbs, okay, but what's amazing behind the assist is that it was developed by doTERRA clinical and medical scientists to help crush the carbs, sustain your metabolic health, and put more life back in your years. We talk about health span versus lifespan, and it's so true. Like, do they match? Like, I know some people who have scales who it shows you your metabolic health age, and it's like, no, that age is way higher. Well, there's a reason for that, right? Because they're not matching because of how we feel versus what the scale says. And we want those to match, or we want our metabolic health to be here so that we're living longer, right? And so it is incredible because it's an additional herb and phytonutrient. And so it has mulberry leaf extract in it, which is known to show reduce the carbohydrate digestion by 42% when taken before a meal. Okay, so basically it slows down the conversion of the carbohydrates to glucose, which means our blood sugar levels, right? And so instead of the giant spike and the drop, right? Think of like after we eat carbs, we know this, but we don't have anything that shows us our numbers, right? I have friends who use the continuous glucose monitor for 1 month. My aunt actually did it, so she could get her numbers before starting MetaPower to show that they actually did work. And after we eat certain things, everyone is different, but we go like this. We start to spike and we're here, and then we drop. Okay, it's like slamming on the gas and then hitting the brakes 20 times a day. And it's like, wait a minute, why is our cells aging? It's because of that. Our blood sugar levels are all over the place. We're riding a roller coaster throughout the day. No wonder why we're exhausted by the end of the day, right? At a cellular level, we really are. And it's just fascinating to see. And so what that does is it helps stop the spike, which is fascinating. Like that's my next goal, is to be able to get a monitor to test this for my own self. But so instead of the giant spikes and drops that we're seeing, what we're seeing this. They're all in range. They're all rolling hills versus the spikes and stops. And so it's I have the data on that. Like I said, if anybody wants to see, but it's pretty amazing. So and it depends on, of course, the activity level and the eating patterns that we have throughout the day. But what's awesome is that instead of the roller coaster glucose speaking here, instead of this, we're seeing more of that. And it's like, and so it really levels us out in a way that we haven't been able to be leveled out before. And it's incredible because when you go to the doctor and talk about all of the diseases really that come along with blood sugars, right? It's one of those things that's incredibly powerful for so many people, but yet right now, so many people don't know about it. They don't have access to it, right? The doctors aren't speaking for that because they have other things that they prescribe. And I understand that. And so all of this stuff is natural. And so we have all of it's naturally sourced, which is incredible because we don't have to have anything synthetically sourced, which a lot of people try to mimic. And so it's one of those things that it's like, we know that natural is best. And so the last part of the system that is in the whole family is the advantage. And so this is really collagen plus NMN, and trying to not overwhelm all of the people with what that is. It's just incredible. NMN actually really helps the NAD levels in our body. And so it's just, think of it as, for mitochondrial maintenance. It's like giving your mitochondria and your cells in your body the energy it needs to fire at all of the levels that it needs. And a lot of the times our cells are not firing at the levels that they need to fire. And so it's really impressive to see it. And so also with that, by mid-age, our bodies dramatically drop the amount of NAD plus that we produce in our bodies naturally. And so, once again, a lot of middle-aged people say it's harder to lose weight. Well, it's because, also the energy in our body is starting to go down by mid-age. And it's crazy that, okay, we don't know this, like we're not educated on this, right? Like we have to learn this, by trial and error. And so it's, so preclinical studies suggest that supplementing with NMN increases the NAD plus levels in your body. And so and it's true. We have the science behind that as well. Our advantage is a formulated yeast powder with NMN to help naturally increase the NAD levels. There's more, they have just found more exciting news that they haven't even shared with us yet about our collagen product. But what our collagen does is that it has 9 different types of peptides in it, versus if you were to go to Costco and get, I don't even remember the brand that's at Costco right now, but there's only 2 to 3 kinds of peptides in collagen. Ours has 9 different types. And so you really want to consider what the collagen tripeptide types are, because that's where our absorption rate will go. Ours is 70% plus with our advantage. And a lot of people think that liquid is best for collagen, and it's actually not, because they have to add something to it in order to stabilize it. And so ours is like a powder, a hydrolyzed powder that you mix in water yourself, and that's what activates it. That's what makes it come to life. And we're not having to add anything but water to it in order for our body to absorb it at the 70 plus rate that we're talking about. So there's so many on the market, and I know that people use collagen, but truly I have seen so much difference in a shorter period of time, just with our line. And it's just been fantastic for me personally. I, have pictures and graphics, but just the inflammation piece that we have noticed has been fantastic. Truly, I can't tell you, I feel like I'm 20 again, and I'm not 20. So it's just one of those things that it's I am just so grateful. It brings tears to my eyes to know that this is helping so many people who were struggling so much with all of the diseases, all of the things, all of, the struggles. And it's just empowering, as a woman, it's just empowering to have tools to be able to support our metabolic health and our brain health, right? Through this process. And that's just what I'm passionate about, teaching those things, because it's something that, that I've struggled with for so long. And it's man, I just, yeah, I can relate to, I've watched some of the other stories on your channel, and I appreciate, all the stuff that you guys put out, because, I can relate so much to it. And that's truly what this is about, is bringing a community of people together who can relate, in a way that maybe we would have newer been connected before.
Agreed. I mean, and if you guys can't tell, Alisha and I, when I go in for a massage, I don't think there's a quiet moment. we just go back and forth. We have all these ideas, and you're so passionate, and I think I can get so passionate, and we, and so that's why I was really happy to be able to do this with you. So I have so many questions because, I think a lot of the people watching are going to recognize, just because of how I work with clients, that there are two different things. I mean, not that they're mutually exclusive, but like there are two different things going on here. So there's like the food cravings, so the sugar cravings, whatever, that, keeps us, both physiologically and psychologically, that keep us going back to those things, whether it be the ice cream, the bread, the cookies, whatever it might be. And then there's the metabolic health. And there is crossover. Like we do know, right? Like research shows that like the more metabolically dysfunctional we are, it really can drive like the cravings and that kind of thing. So if we're trying to get off of these things that are lighting up our brain like a Christmas tree, that are truly like alcohol in our body or marijuana in our body, right? That we have to kind of like do both. And so my first question would be, can you talk a bit about maybe even your personal experience or like clients that you've had that have used this when it comes to the cravings? Like, do you think about food? And if so, like, is it like, what sounds more desirable to you, the ice cream or, the meat and vegetables? Like, can you talk a bit about the craving side?
Definitely, because it's something that I have struggled so much with. And in also being a massage therapist, I'm constantly working. And so it's one of those things where I used to think about food in between clients, right? Like, okay, I need something to eat here. And it wasn't necessarily even that I needed I don't struggle anymore. I feel like I've gotten very powerful in thinking like, I don't have ice cream in my house. I don't think about it anymore because it's something I was able to overcome. But, but food in general, right? Like, reaching for things that were easy, right? The chips or the crackers or, whatever I could in between meals. And I do have to say, I have, glycemic issues. Like I get hangry, and that's a real thing, right? Like a lot of people dealt with that. And so I noticed without the MetaPower line that I was thinking about food often. And so when I actually started this, this system 3 months ago, I have not hardly thought about food. And so I am so fascinated in learning like more about that and about why it is actually curbing the craving so much. And they have gum and beadlets that have the MetaPower oil in it. And I've been using those like crazy because I know that like if I can put something in my mouth that, and even if it is just gum or something, like it is helpful to me. And so it's like, keeping me busy, right? And like I said, scientifically, I don't know why it's working the way that it's working, but it's working. And I love it. Like, I feel so much freer. Like sometimes like with cravings, you feel like you're trapped, right? Like okay, what can I do to and I have healthy things I do. I work out, I go on my treadmill. If I have time, I do those things. But oftentimes we can get discouraged because we still have cravings, or if it's sugar cravings. I know people, and I can say that over the 10 years I've got, I've really narrowed down, like I can like keep sugar out. I don't buy sugar, right? Like I keep it out of my house. And so it's not a thing for me, but like there's some people who had started this that we have thousands of people who have tried this. So many are noticing that like they broke up with sugar. Like it was that easy. And it's not, like sugar is highly addictive, right? For our brain. And so it's not easy to break up with sugar. Like I know that to be true. And so it's one of those things where we just want to make sure that if we have something to support that, then it's fabulous. Like it's great. And so even on the times that I'm not chewing gum or using, like I do put the MetaPower in my water throughout the day. So I can't say that it like I'm not doing it, but there are times where I'm not chewing the gum and I'm still not thinking about, food as much. But when it comes to mealtime, I have a balanced meal. We have, our, full serving of vegetables. We have our, protein. And if we have a carb or we have a carb alternative, I know my body and I know how, carbs do for me. And even with taking the assist, I still take it, but I still limit my carbs because I know how it has broke down in my body and I know how I feel when I eat them. And so that's just one of the things that I have noticed for sure with cravings.
Which I think is a really great point, that again, there's no I mean, short of, where they've done rat experiments where they've like actually burned parts of the brain, I think it's just a good reminder, like this is a tool and it's helping you to make better choices, and it's helping lots of people, it sounds like, to make better choices, and it's curbing the cravings. It's not necessarily taking them away completely, but it's making them more manageable. So you can be like, between clients, and you don't necessarily have to go grab something to eat. It's like keeping you, yeah, just making choices that you can be more proud of, or like, and we know when we're not constantly, like you were saying, like spiking that blood sugar, because it's like a handful of crackers, it's like boop, spike, and then there's that drop. So that now we're into that metabolic place too, where the more metabolically healthy we become, our brain functions better, our gut functions better. We know that those two need to talk to each other in order to have like this overall kind of thing. And I think it's really neat that you're willing to come on here and share your experience of like saying, hey, like, listen, this is a tool. You also said some things that I wanted to like go back to, as far as, you talked a lot about like our olfactory system and how smells are a powerful cue. And we talk about this a lot in, the education modules that I do with clients, and, like in relapse prevention kind of stuff, where we talk about these smells, like somebody's making popcorn, in the next cubicle, or they've ordered pizza in or something like that. And I was wondering if you could speak a bit more to like some of those, the putting them in the diffusers, like, are there specific ones that you would maybe recommend somebody try, just give a shot? Like if we're trying to, keep, right, because just having that cue, and we can start thinking about, oh, I'm hungry for popcorn, even if I'm not actually hungry, I check into my stomach and I'm like, I actually just ate, I'm not actually hungry. Is there something that maybe I could be doing, smelling, maybe putting on my body and smelling? Like what might you suggest in that case?
Yeah, that's so powerful, because like you hit the nail on the head, that with our olfactory, our is nerve is right next to our amygdala. It is so powerful, and people don't realize, like you said, like when you start to smell like that popcorn or something, and it's like, oh man, like I want that, because it triggers that, right? Yes, there are several things. Grapefruit is a fantastic oil, period. There's a lot of research done on it. And then also, I mean, people are diffusing the MetaPower blend, which is what doTERRA's is, for that reason alone. I haven't done it as much. I honestly, because I'm using it, I don't think I feel like I need it as much. Whereas right now in the season in my life that it's snowing outside and it's gloomy, and that triggers the more seasonal affective disorder stuff. I need stuff for that. And so anything energizing, right? Wild orange is so powerful. It's one of our most least expensive oils and the most powerful thing you can be doing, because it just excites our brain in ways that we don't even know. And so same thing with all the citrus oils, really. We have so many, but they really do uplift. And I do have to say, somebody who is uneducated may be watching this and say, okay, I can go to the store and buy essential oils from the store, right? doTERRA really is, the purity is there. We really pull them from where they're most pure, where they grow naturally. And so we co-impact source all of our oils from different parts of the world. And it goes through third-party testing so that we can get it into, the hands of us at its purest form. Whereas, the essential oil industry as a whole, there actually is very minimal what they can put on their bottles. So even if it says 100% therapeutic grade, it probably has a lot of synthetics in it. And so just be careful on what company you choose, because there is a huge difference. And if you have synthetics in something that you're, diffusing, or let's say, I mean, a lot of people, this way with candles, they can be very toxic, and there is no therapeutic benefit to that. And so I really do want to just stress that, because if you're trying, a different type of oil and you're like, oh, I'm not getting the therapeutic results that, you speak of, it's because of that. And so just be cautious of that. But yeah, I mean, there are so many that are powerful. Adaptive is another one. They did studies in a workspace setting where a group of people, were able to function a lot better, more focused, because they had adaptive diffusing in their workspace. And that was the other oil system that I spoke about earlier, with the anxiousness and some of those feelings. It really does help. So I think, and then lavender's a great one for calming. It's so funny. I used to think I was allergic to lavender because I had only, as a massage therapist, smelt synthetic lavenders in my life, and it would always trigger a headache. And I was like, what is this? So like for a long time, even when I, started 10 years ago or over 10 years ago, using doTERRA, I didn't use lavender right away because I thought I was allergic to it, until I realized that there was such a big difference in purity. And so I hope that helps with that.
Yeah, no, it does. And you also brought up a really great point too, as far as, talking about things like seasonal affective disorder, anxiety, depression, whatever those things might be. Oftentimes those things are stressors that will, again, put us, if we are a person with addiction, and I don't care if it's to food, alcohol, whatever it is, those stressors activate that disease, right? And it will put us right back into active addiction, potentially. I shouldn't paint with such broad brush strokes, but it could be. And it sounds like what you're saying is, some of these oils, like whether they be the citrus oils, or I know for me, like I really like the mints. And I think that just goes, whatever, like we all kind of have our own thing, but those uplifting things, when we're smelling them, right, we're not craving as much, and it doesn't matter what the craving is. It gives us this energy in a way that we didn't, right? Where maybe like we are feeling low energy, and so our brain is like, I know what will solve that: dopamine, right? In whatever way that dopamine comes, where these are exciting our cells in a different way, right? And it's maybe it's more serotonin, maybe it's more oxytocin. Speaking of GABA, right? GABA and oxytocin, we need GABA in order to have more oxytocin in our body. And if you're an anxious person, we need those things to have, like, to kind of de-escalate that central nervous system. So I mean, so much of what you've been saying today really does tie in with, what I do, who I work with. And I'm really excited to think about like different protocols, that people could use in a recovery kind of way. Either, like, even if it's just like having something diffusing, or, having some sort of use. I like to keep my vials of them close by. And sometimes, like, these get long sometimes, right? Sometimes it's client after client. And sometimes I just like to give them a smell, and it's like, whoo, like I'm awake, I'm ready to go. Like there's something, like my brain becomes more clear, right? And I feel like I can go again, where in the past, like 6 years ago, me, 5 years ago, me, whatever, would have been like, give me that chocolate bar, something along those lines.
Or soda. So many
Or
people
soda.
turn to soda in the afternoons, right? And it's like we're giving ourselves caffeine and all of the things that are in diet or, regular sodas that aren't so good for you. And it's like, I haven't even thought about, like, I used to drink diet soda. I haven't thought about diet soda in so long, because I'm giving my body what it needs. And it's like, man, that is so powerful. Just like you said, everyone's going to have a tool bag that might look a little bit different. And that's something that you'll have to explore yourself. But just to be able to have a tool bag and say, okay, I'm ready to tackle the day, versus, okay, like you said, you're going to run yourself down, and then what, right? Like you're going to turn to the chocolate and the stuff that, that it's not so good for you. And so that's how I like to function, is just saying, okay, there's so many of these tools that you'll have to play with to see, what works for you. But when you find it, like, it's super powerful that we're able to support our bodies in this way.
It really is. And I like that I don't necessarily have to call up my doctor and have my insurance company know about everything all the time either. I like that if I have a sore muscle, I can go get, the icy blue rub or the oil. Or I like if I'm like getting a migraine, I can get my peppermint oil and I can rub it on the places I need to rub it, or give it a smell. I like that I have these kind of like alternatives where, again, they don't always fix the problem. And that's not what we're talking about here, folks. It's like, it's just a tool where, in those moments when my brain is most likely to like start screaming, like, oh man, it's bright. Like sometimes I have those days where it's like, oh, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. These are like things that are literally at my fingertips. It's on the dresser next to me, whatever. I can get it and I can use it. And if it doesn't work 100%, it doesn't work 100%, but usually it's at least made it more manageable if it hasn't fully taken it away. Now those migraines, man, like that peppermint oil for me has been a huge, like that and getting more regular with my massages. I just want to put a shout out there for massage therapy as well,
Yeah.
and just like getting into your body and like, again, these oils can just, I think they're a powerful tool in like helping us reconnect with our bodies too, which so often with food addiction, especially those of us who have the disease of obesity as well, right? So not everybody who has food addiction, sugar addiction, carb addiction, whatever we want to call it, has this like body issue as far as like carrying extra weight. But when we have that disease of obesity, which I definitely do, you know, that the tool of massage paired with the tool of oils that I can do on my own in my own time in a very self-loving way, whatever, has really helped me to come back into my body too and appreciate, that I am more than just a number on the scale, that I am more than just a pant size, that I am more than just whatever. Because like you said, there's a difference between weight loss and fat release, because weight loss can really mean like, am I losing muscle because I'm fasting because that's all the rage? Or am I losing muscle because I'm not eating enough protein and I'm actually, my body is like using it. And so I'm more fat than I am, protein or muscle, whatever it might be. And so, again, just like you were saying, to have any of these tools, whether it be for mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, I mean, that's the nice thing about oils is like when we talk about the disease of addiction, it's a biopsychosocial spiritual disease. And I feel like oils can be useful to address every one of those aspects. Again, it is not a panacea. It is not an end all, be all, cure all, whatever, but it is certainly empowering to know, hey, I can grab lemon and put that in my water and have a whole different experience after that glass of water with some lemon oil in it than I was having prior to that.
That excites me, Molly, and that's why I try to empower people to take this into their own hands, and really it's about I like to call it my first line of defense, right? Because it is like I am empowered as a mom, as a woman, as a business owner to be able to go to my oils first. And then if something doesn't work out and if you need extra support, that's great. You can, use those alternatives, right? Going to the doctor or getting their support. Like, I mean, I have, a lot of people, they're like, oh, I need to ask my doctor first, go for it. But they're going to probably say, I'm not sure, just try it. It can't hurt anything, right? Because they don't know this sense. They don't understand how essential oils work in the body. They know how different medications that they prescribe work in the body, because they may not have worked for somebody else, and they may come with a really long line of side effects, right? Like that's the one of those things where it's like, okay, if we can address the root cause and not the symptomatic part of it, then you can really start to heal, you can help your body heal certain things that you may not have before. It's just another tool. And that's what's exciting about it, is that, we don't have to just go through life, struggling. And that's truly what it's about.
That's just it. Yeah. I mean, I guess I always expect struggle. I do. I always expect struggle, but I think it's like, we don't necessarily have to suffer to the extent that we've suffered. And sometimes, again, you guys, sometimes it's just that empowerment of like, I have a choice in this, or there's something that I can do separate from these people who are giving me answers like, I don't know what's wrong with you. All of your labs are normal. I think so often we hear that too, again, with the disease of obesity, and polycystic ovarian syndrome. I can't tell you how many times I went to the doctor and they're like, all your labs are normal. And it's like, well, all these years later, it's like, well, that makes sense. I've been on birth control pills since I was 14 years old. My labs should look normal, right? You were manipulating the hormones. They should look normal. But I'm telling you, something's not right in here, right? And so it's just so nice to know that, the research is starting to back up our very human experience. And that, again, that is just one more tool in your tool bag. Take it or leave it, folks. Like, this isn't like meant to like sell you on oils or whatever it might be. It's just to offer another option. Like, we're going to, next week, we're going to have a gal on who does hypnosis. It's just, we have this world, we have a world that we live on, like an entire planet that we live on. It would be safe to assume that there are more options out there than medications prescribed by a prescriber or, I don't know, whatever, like some of the old tried and true kind of things are. Like there are all, Chinese medicine has been around for as long as it's been around for a reason, like all of these things. So I just appreciate you again, Alisha, being here and being willing to share all of this. I'm excited. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you think that we should talk about?
No, I think you really, brought in your expertise of, just, what you do as a professional is help people get through addictions and specifically, on this channel, sugar addictions, but, you have all kinds of clients who have, had this issue, right? And
Yeah.
have been able to overcome and work through, and which is so powerful. Background being, used to work in, you can say your
Yeah.
background.
Having worked in corrections and sexual assault and all of that, and now being in this. And what's so interesting is I do have clients, that I work with and have worked with in the past, who will show up and say, listen, I'm a food addict, sugar addict, however they want to self-identify, who use oils. And again, not to say that's the thing but in addition to some of these other things that they're doing in their daily life, getting the food out of the house, like you said, like whatever, like exercising for our health and for our brains, all of these things have really, adding the oils have helped support them in their recovery. And so, that's what I do. That's what I love doing. And I love educating and I love connecting people with each other, which is why I love the YouTube channel and the podcast and all of that, because I really think that, we've been sold this story that, we have to live within this capitalistic system. And if it doesn't fall within this system, and if it doesn't, go through an insurance panel, and if it doesn't get approved for this and whatever that, then it's not for you, that like it's hokey or it's whatever. Well, I'm here to tell you, if it works for you, it works for you. And like nobody should be telling you it's wrong, like find your way. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's so awesome. The one last thing that I just have to say is that we are a global company, and I know you work with, different areas of the world, and that's what's super awesome as well. Is it's exciting because it's so accessible to everyone globally, not just here locally. So
well, it's not even that you guys are global either. That I think I love so much about what I've learned about doTERRA through you mostly. It's like the altruism. It's the pay it forward, the service work that they also do, which I think is phenomenal, like the stuff with Ukraine. And I think there was some stuff maybe in India. I don't know. There have been projects, all over the place where, they're very passionate about paying it forward and giving it back. And I think, it's not just about the bottom line dollar in my experience with, what I'm learning about this company, which that feels a little bit better too, to me,
Absolutely. Yes. It's heavy on our hearts as well. We've, raised money for different things globally, that co-impact sourcing, and if you look it up, is fantastic. And it really, we've been a part of it. We get to go on a co-impact sourcing trip next month that we have won. We've waited 3 years because of COVID for, and so I can't wait to share that side of doTERRA, because I've been on this side of the bottle for so long. I get to actually go see where Hawaiian sandalwood is sourced, and why, and what the process is, and what we do for their culture. And so I'm excited to be able to do that. But Molly, thank you so much for having me on. I so appreciate all that you do. And I just love sharing goodness with the world. And I am so blessed to know you, and to know that, this is the line of work that you've chosen to go into. So thank you.
You're welcome. I feel the same, Alisha. All right. Take care. Have a good rest of your day.
If you like what you heard today, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.